It's time for Recipe of the Day. You know how every now and then you'll cook something in a new way and you're blown away, and then you know that you will never cook it another way ever again? That is how I feel about this broiled salmon recipe. When I get a side of salmon, like one of those big, like 2.5 pound, not cut into fillets kind of salmon, I get it with the skin on, and then I broil it skin side up, the whole thing, and it's unbelievable. Like, you end up with this really crispy skin, this whole layer of crispy skin. It's like salmon bacon, but also the skin protects the flesh of the salmon underneath it from the heat of the broiler, and so it cooks just like lusciously gentle. It's really, really amazing. And then I find that when it comes to serving it, because the skin is on the top and it's crispy, it's actually really easy to cut through it with a sharp knife. You know how when you cook salmon skin side down and the skin doesn't end up crispy, sometimes you're like cutting and you like can't get through the skin, or you're leaving the skin behind. Like, all of that can kind of happen. This way, it is skin side up. You kind of pierce through that crispy skin with the sharp knife and divide it into portions. I use like a metal spatula to get under the portions and serve them. It works perfectly. I know you're going to love this. Okay, so before you start, you are going to adjust your top oven rack to the upper middle position. Basically, you want the skin of the salmon to end up about 5 or 6 inches from the heat element. So you need to put your rack in such a way that you can picture the pan you're going to use with the salmon on it, the thickness of the salmon, and that skin should end up 5 to 6 inches from those broiling heat elements at the top of the oven. Then you're also going to position a rack lower in the oven, in like the lower middle position. And once those are both in place, you preheat your broiler to high if you have the option for different temperatures for your broiler. Okay. Then you're getting out a sturdy baking sheet or a broiler pan, something that you know can go under the broiler. I use this aluminum baking sheet that says in the details on the packaging that it is broiler safe. I will say it kind of warps a tiny bit sometimes from the heat while it's under the broiler with the salmon on there, but it goes back to normal shape later. So I think it's totally fine. I will link to that pan for you. Crucially, the pan needs to be bigger than your nice side of salmon, because the whole salmon needs to fit on there. Then what you're going to do is place the salmon skin side down on that baking sheet and brush the top with 2 teaspoons of olive oil, and you sprinkle that with half a teaspoon of salt and with some garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. You can add other seasonings here on this side of the fish as well, because we're going to flip it over and those seasonings are going to be protected from the fish above them. They're not going to be getting like burnt by the heating element. And then what you don't want to do is put other seasonings that are likely to burn on the skin side, because they will burn, because that heat is going to be intense. So if you want to add extra seasonings, they go on this side of the fish, the flesh side of the fish. At this point, when you're adding the 2 teaspoons of olive oil, salt, garlic powder, rub it in really good, and then you flip that over. You know, I'll just say, if your pan has a tendency to stick, mine does not, you might want to oil the pan underneath the fish as well. And then you're going to flip this over so the fish is oiled, the pan is oiled, nothing is going to stick there. That aluminum pan that I'm linking to, nothing sticks to that, so don't worry about that one. Okay, so now you have flipped your salmon over and it is skin side up, and you're going to brush all that skin with another 2 teaspoons of olive oil, and you're going to sprinkle it with a half a teaspoon of salt. And like I said, do not put any other seasoning there because they will burn. Then that pan with that beautiful salmon is going into your oven on that top rack that you arranged, and you're watching it. So you close your oven, but like turn the light on and look. You want that skin, it's going to be bubbling and darkening, and you want that. You want it crispy. It's going to take 5 to 7 minutes, but what you do not want is for it to burn. It will be like a little dark in places, especially like some of those little bubbles are going to form, and those bubbles get a little closer to the heat elements than the rest of the salmon. They will get dark. Oh, and I have a video of this. It is not up yet, though. It's not on the blog post, nor is it on social media, but eventually you'll be able to see all this bubbling and browning happening. But you're watching it 5 to 7 minutes. Like, you can walk away every now and then, but you really just want to make sure it doesn't get too dark. You want it crispy, but not burnt. I can't tell you exactly how long that's going to take. It depends on your particular broiler, how far exactly your salmon ends up from the heat, that kind of thing. But for me, it's around 5 to 7 minutes. And at that point, the skin is nice and crispy, and you can move the salmon down to that lower rack that you set up. But what I typically do is first pull it out and check what it's like. Is it flaky and opaque, or is it the doneness that you want? Some people like their salmon a little bit rarer than I do. If it is the doneness, that meat, if it's the way you want it, then you're finished. If it's not, if it's a thicker piece of salmon or you like it a little bit more well done, then you are moving it down into that lower position that you prepared, and it finishes cooking there. And then it's not under quite as intense a heat from that broiler rack. You still have the broiler on, but the fish has been moved down, and then you're cooking it until it is the temperature that you like or the doneness that you like. It doesn't usually take that long. Although I did have a really thick piece of salmon not too long ago that did take, with the full 7 minutes on the top and then probably another, 6 minutes lower down. So that can happen. So then once your salmon is the way you like it, you take it out. You use that sharp knife to cut through that crispy skin and your metal spatula to lift it out and serve immediately. The skin can lose its crispiness fairly quickly just because the fish underneath is kind of steaming up onto it. So you do want to serve it right away. If it's not as crispy by the time you get to eat it, it's still totally edible. It's good for you. It's fine. Just not as crispy. I like it really crispy. You know what? I'm just going to do a shout out mention to another recipe that gets really crispy salmon, and that is the air fryer one that I do. And for that one, the technique is you cook the salmon until it's the doneness that you like, but then you take it out and you take the skin off and you put the skin back in the air fryer to crisp up without overcooking the salmon. So that's a great technique. If for some reason you get distracted and you've left the salmon and the skin isn't crispy anymore, you can always take the skin off and put it into the air fryer, or even under that broiler again to crisp it up again. That is going to work perfectly. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there, or find it in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/recipeotd. And hey, just a quick note. I'm on a recording hiatus right now, so for the next little while, I'm replaying episodes from the archives, including this one. If you heard me mention a holiday, a season, or something going on in my life that seemed a bit off, that's why. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're enjoying these older episodes. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, cookfor2.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.